I hope you enjoyed Ghost of a Hanged Man, written by Vivian Vandeveld and published by Marshall Cavendish. Some stories start when an author gets an idea. Ghost of a Hanged Man started when two ideas collided in my head. The first idea came when my husband and I visited New Orleans. This was many years ago, long before Hurricane Katrina devastated the area with flooding. A tour guide told us that cemeteries in New Orleans had to be above ground burials because New Orleans is at or slightly below sea level, which means that the ground is very wet. And if there was additional wetness, as from flooding, from a lot of rain, then the coffins would work their way back up to the surface. And I said, ew, but at the same time I thought, cool, if it's not your uncle or aunt that has come back to the surface. The second idea came when I went to a used and discarded book sale at a library and came across this book about fortune telling. I knew that one of my friends would be interested in this book, and I bought it fully intending to give it to her, but I read it beforehand and read about the tarot cards, which I had not been familiar with before, except just having heard the term tarot cards. And I saw the picture of coffins floating on the river, the Judgment Day card, and that reminded me about what I had heard of in New Orleans. At the same time, I saw the picture of the card of the Hanged Man. So I decided I wanted to write a ghost story that started with an outlaw who was about to be hanged for his crimes, that the story would include a fortune teller with fortune telling cards, and that it would include a cemetery that had the coffins rising to the surface after some horrific rains. When I was growing up, there were a lot of westerns. There were movies, most of which were serious, although there were some comedies too. There were western TV shows. Your grandparents or your great-grandparents might recognize some of these actors and some of these shows. I wrote Ghost of a Hanged Man pretty early in my career. If I were doing it today, I would probably spend a little bit more time researching rather than counting on what I knew from watching shows. I'm not even sure that the tarot cards that I described were the ones that would have been used during the time of the Old West. But having grown up with these shows, I think a lot of people from my generation, including this family friend, thought that we really understood what was going on in the Old West, when really what we understood was what Hollywood told us about the Old West. The young cowboy in this picture grew up to be the father of one of my friends. And this is a picture of that same friend's mother, because whether you were a boy or a girl, you knew about cowboys. This is a picture of me when I was not quite 3 years old, playing with a toy gun that looked pretty realistic as far as the 6-shooters that were used in the Old West. In this picture, I'm a teenager and looking much less enthusiastic about the Old West when my parents took me and my brother, who's the one who took the picture, at Western Town on Fantasy Island. How do you like those short jeans that I'm wearing? And here's a picture taken one Halloween where my brother was wearing a Superman outfit that my mom had made for him, and I was dressed as a fortune teller. So I guess I was interested in fortune telling from an early age too, which is part of the reason why I never did give that fortune telling book to my friend. Both the hardcover and paperback editions had a very creepy, and I mean that in the best possible way, illustration by artist Teresa Flavin. The difference between the two is that in the paperback, the editor included a short interview with me, and I will read that to you. Tarot cards came into use in Italy in the first part of the 15th century and soon after found their way to England and France. The images pictured on the cards, the Hanged Man, Emperor, Death, were said to have mystical meanings. Nowadays, fortune tellers around the world claim that tarot cards help them to predict the future. We asked Vivian Vandevelde to elaborate. Do you believe in fortune telling? In Ghost of a Hanged Man, Xandra's predictions about the future come true, but in real life this is not always the case. Fortune tellers take cues from the person whose fortune is being told. They pay close attention to facial expressions and verbal reactions. This helps steer the fortune teller toward ideas about the future. We're more apt to remember the hits than the misses. Can you give an example? A fortune teller might say, you are going on a journey. This could mean an actual journey or a journey of inner discovery. If the person who's listening says, my life has been tough lately, the fortune teller would probably conclude that a journey of inner discovery is on the horizon. Have you ever told any fortunes? I'll try out my fortune telling skills right now without knowing you or even dealing any cards. There is a change in your future. You will face many challenges and have many triumphs. You have a great heart, so there are great things in store for you. You'll be amazed when these predictions come true.